The alien sky burned purple at dusk. The great cliffs of Charon's Reach cast long shadows over the silver desert, where two suns were sinking low. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the settlement wall, his boots grinding into the sand. His rifle was slung over his shoulder, but he wasn't thinking about weapons tonight. He was staring at the horizon. Something was out there. "Still watching the sand, Captain?" a voice rasped behind him. Ward turned. The voice belonged to Sarai, his closest friend among the Vayari, the tall, slender aliens who had given him shelter these last 3 years. Her skin shimmered faintly, like glass-catching moonlight, and her eyes burned with that inner glow that always unsettled him just a little. The Vayari looked delicate, but they were strong in ways no human could match. Ward exhaled slowly. The sensors picked up movement again, could be scavengers, could be worse. Sarai's face darkened. "Council scouts." Ward didn't answer. He didn't need to. Both of them knew the Council's reach stretched farther than any star chart could mark. When the Galactic Council declared a people unwanted, there was nowhere safe to hide. Not in open space, not on forgotten worlds like this one. 3 years ago, the Endeavor, Earth's first long-range survey ship, had stumbled across 17 crippled vessels drifting between stars. Refugees fleeing extermination. Ward had been one of the soldiers on the rescue teams. He remembered the broken hulls, the smoke and blood, the quiet despair of beings who thought the galaxy had already killed them. Humanity had brought them back. Humanity had said, "No, you will not die alone." That single decision had changed everything. Now Earth was no longer just Earth. It was the heart of something new, a fragile federation of outcasts, rebels, and survivors. Humans, Vayari, Zephyrians, Hiveborn, and a dozen more species branded unnatural by the Council. Together, they tried to build a life in the cracks of the galaxy. Together, they waited for the day the Council would come to finish what it started. Ward pulled his jacket tighter against the rising desert wind. His scars itched, old burns across his shoulder and chest from the battle that had nearly killed him. The medics had rebuilt him with steel bones and synthetic nerves, but the ache never went away. He carried it like a reminder. "Elias," Sarai said softly, stepping closer. "You can't keep watch forever. The people need rest. You need rest." He gave her a tired smile. "I'll sleep when the Council forgets we exist." Sarai tilted her head. "Then you'll never sleep." Before Ward could answer, the sirens wailed. The sound tore across the desert settlement, sharp, urgent, undeniable. Ward's instincts kicked in. He grabbed his rifle, slammed the comm on his wrist, and shouted, "All stations, report." Voices crackled back in fragments, panic, confusion, alarms. Then one clear voice cut through. "Captain, incoming vessels, 17 of them bearing straight for Charon's Reach." Ward froze. 17. The number hit him like a fist. His mind flashed back to the first time he had heard it. 17 broken ships limping through the void, the day everything changed. But this time the ships weren't broken. The readings showed massive engines, intact hulls, and Council signatures burned into their cores. Sarai's glow dimmed with fear. "They found us." Ward's jaw clenched. "Not just found us, they brought an army." The settlement erupted into motion. Humans and aliens ran through the streets, herding children into shelters, powering up shields that were little more than scrap metal patched with prayer. Fighters scrambled from underground hangars, half-finished hybrids of human engineering and alien biology. Ward sprinted to the command tower, Sarai at his side. His boots slammed against metal steps 2 at a time, lungs burning until he reached the top deck. The tactical screens confirmed his worst fear. 17 Council warships, cruisers and carriers, each one bristling with weapons that could flatten cities. Against them, the refugees had barely 24 ships, and most weren't even true war vessels. They were transports rebuilt with scavenged guns, fighters grafted together from scrap, and a few human destroyers that had survived Earth's last desperate stand. Ward slammed his fist against the console. "Damn it, we're not ready for this." A voice answered from the comm, calm, measured, but edged with steel. "This is Admiral Jurok of the Galactic Council Fleet. By order of the High Assembly, you will surrender all refugee populations into our custody. Any resistance will be met with annihilation." Ward stared at the comm speaker. For a moment, silence filled the tower. Then Sarai's voice broke it, low and trembling. "They'll kill us all." Ward forced himself to breathe. The Council didn't send fleets to negotiate. They sent fleets to erase. Everyone knew it. He looked out across the settlement. Smoke rose from chimneys where humans and aliens shared meals. Children of 6 different species played in the dust, laughing in voices that carried across the night air. Ward thought of the promises he'd made to them, that they would be safe, that this world could be home. He couldn't break that promise, not now, not ever. "Open a channel," he ordered. The comm officer hesitated. "Sir." "Do it." The screen lit with static before stabilizing into the sharp, cold face of Admiral Jurok. He was Althari, one of the insectoid species that had dominated the Council for centuries. His chitinous mandibles clicked as he studied Ward with contempt. "You are human," Jurok said flatly. "You have no authority here. Deliver the outcasts, or we will burn your world to ash." Ward lifted his chin. His voice was steady. "This settlement is under human protection. If you want them, Admiral, you'll have to go through me." Jurok's mandibles spread in something that might have been a smile or a sneer. "So be it." The transmission cut. Ward turned to Sarai. Her glass-like skin reflected the red warning lights flashing across the tower. "They're coming," she whispered. Ward checked his rifle, though he knew a single weapon meant nothing against a fleet. He looked at the sky, where 17 burning lights were descending like judgment. Then he spoke, his voice carrying through the comm system to every fighter pilot, every soldier, every refugee who could still hear. "Listen to me. The Council thinks we're weak. They think we'll surrender because they've crushed everyone else. But we are not everyone else. We are humans. We are Vayari. We are Hiveborn and Zephyrian and more. We are the people they cast out, and we're still standing. Today, we show them why." The desert settlement roared back with voices from a dozen species, defiant even in fear. Ward gripped the console, heart pounding. His scars burned, his nerves screamed, but his mind was clear. The day humanity defied the Council had begun. And the first shot was seconds away. The night sky above Karin's reach exploded with fire. 17 Council warships descended in perfect formation, engines flaring like blue suns. Their hulls gleamed with the polished steel of civilizations that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Against them rose the ragged defense of the refugees, patched fighters, rebuilt transports, and the few human destroyers left from Earth's scattered fleets. Captain Elias Ward stood on the command deck of the settlement tower, watching the battle begin. He had fought before, on Earth, in orbit, in forgotten systems where humanity had bled for survival, but nothing had ever looked like this. The Council's ships opened fire first. Bright lances of plasma tore across the void, burning through the thin atmosphere. Explosions bloomed in the upper sky, shaking the desert below. "Shields at 30% already," a human technician shouted. "We can't hold against that kind of barrage." Ward slammed a hand on the console. "Get the fighters up now." From the hidden hangars beneath the settlement, human and alien pilots launched in hybrid ships, half metal, half living tissue. The Zephyrian bioships swam through the air like great silver fish, their skin rippling with protective enzymes. Human-built interceptors roared alongside them, engines screaming, weapons charging. The first wave met the Council head-on. Ward's comm filled with overlapping voices. "Targeting Cruiser 3. I've got missiles locked. They're too fast, I can't." Explosions filled the sky as fighters engaged. The Council's ships moved with mechanical precision, every maneuver drilled by centuries of doctrine. But the refugees didn't fight like that. They fought like survivors. Sarai stood at Ward's side, her glowing eyes locked on the tactical map. The Vayari wings are weaving through the plasma lines. They're unpredictable, too many vectors for the Council to track. Ward allowed himself a thin smile. Humanity had been called reckless, chaotic, undisciplined. But chaos was hard to predict, and unpredictability could save lives. Then the smile vanished. "Captain," cried Ben Torres, his young comms officer. "Council carrier releasing boarding pods. They're coming down, straight into the settlement." Ward's heart lurched. The fight wasn't just in the sky anymore. "Sarai with me," he ordered. "Torres, keep this channel open. You cut out, we're blind." He grabbed his rifle and sprinted down the tower stairs. Sirens howled across the settlement as the first pods streaked through the atmosphere like falling stars. Dust plumed where they slammed into the desert. Ward's boots hit the ground running. Soldiers, human and alien alike, scrambled to the outer wall, rifles and pulse cannons braced. Families were rushing into bunkers, but Ward knew not everyone would make it in time. The first pod cracked open. Council soldiers poured out. Althari with their insectoid armor, Luminari who glowed with crystalline light, and reptilian hegemony warriors carrying weapons longer than Ward was tall. They advanced in terrifying unity. Ward raised his rifle. Hold fire. The wall blazed with gunfire. Plasma bolts ripped through the night. Council soldiers staggered but did not stop. They were trained for war, for extermination. A hive-born warrior beside Ward surged forward, its metallic body whirring. Blue light pulsed from its chest as it unleashed a shockwave that scattered the front line. But a council marksman dropped the hive-born seconds later, its frame collapsing into the dust. Ward's blood boiled. "Push them back," he roared. "Don't give them an inch." Sarai leapt down from the wall with liquid grace, her glass-like body flashing. She wielded a Vayari energy staff that snapped with light, slicing through armor as if it were cloth. Ward moved with her, rifle barking, every shot precise. But for every soldier they cut down, two more seemed to emerge from the pods. The council wasn't here to capture, they were here to wipe them out. Across the settlement, screams echoed as firefights broke out street by street. Explosions lit the night. Ward caught glimpses of Zapirian fighters splashing water from their suits to blind enemy troops, children being pulled into shelters by desperate parents, hive-born drones holding defensive lines until they burned out. Ward ducked behind a barrier as plasma bolts seared overhead. He slammed a fresh magazine into his rifle and checked Sarai. Her glowing skin was fractured in places, energy leaking like blood, but she kept fighting. "Elias," she shouted, voice raw, "we can't hold them much longer." Ward wiped sweat from his brow, grit stinging his eyes. He knew she was right. The Council's numbers were too great, their technology too advanced. Even with all their courage, the refugees were being crushed. And then, amid the chaos, a voice cut through the calm. "Captain Ward, this is Admiral Jurok. Do you see now? Resistance is hopeless. Surrender the outcasts, and I will spare your humans. Fight on, and every last child in that settlement will burn." Ward froze. Around him, the battle raged, smoke and screams filling the night. His crew waited for his reply, desperate for direction. He could feel their eyes on him, even Sarai's. Jurok's voice was calm, almost casual. "You are human. Protect your own. Give us the aliens, and Earth will live." Ward's knuckles whitened on his rifle. He had been a soldier long enough to know temptation when he heard it. The offer was poison, but it was the kind that might sound sweet to desperate ears. He could almost imagine it. Surrender the refugees, save humanity. Almost. He pressed the calm button. His voice was steady, though rage burned behind it. "Admiral Jurok, you made one mistake. You thought humanity could be bought." He rose from cover, firing shot after shot into the advancing troops, his words carrying across every channel. "We don't sell out our friends. Not for you, not for anyone. If you want them, come and take them. We'll make you bleed for every step." The defenders roared in unison, human throats, alien voices, metallic hive-born echoes. The battle surged again, fiercer than before. Jurok's reply was cold, venomous. "Then you will all die together." Above, the council cruisers began to shift. Their massive weapons aligned not on fighters, not on defense grids, but on the settlement itself. The order was clear. Burn Karen's reach to the ground. Ward's breath caught in his chest as the first carrier's cannon lit up, brighter than a star. Sarai grabbed his arm. "Elias, we have seconds." The desert settlement was about to be erased. The night cracked open. A blinding beam of plasma tore downward from the lead council carrier. The ground shook as the desert itself seemed to scream. Entire blocks of the settlement disintegrated in a single flash, sending sand and stone spiraling into the air. Captain Elias Ward was thrown off his feet, his ears ringing, lungs choked with dust. He coughed, rolled onto his side, and blinked through the haze. The settlement wall where he had been seconds before was gone, just gone, reduced to molten rubble. Sarai dragged him upright, her glowing skin cracked and dim. "Elias, move." He staggered forward with her as another beam split the sky, scorching a wide scar across the ground. Screams rose from the shelters, mingled voices of human and alien families. The council wasn't aiming at soldiers anymore. They were burning everything. Ward slammed his comm unit. "Control, this is Ward. We need counterfire now. Anything you've got, throw it at those cannons." The comm crackled with chaos, frantic voices, explosions, broken signals. Then a calm but strained reply. "Captain, this is Lieutenant Diaz. The Zephyrian bioships are climbing, trying to intercept. But they're outnumbered. We need another option." Ward's heart pounded. He looked up at the burning sky, then back at Sarai. She met his gaze with grim certainty. "There is another option," she said, "but it's madness." Ward managed a grim smile. "Those are usually my favorite kind." Sarai's eyes glowed brighter as she explained. "The Viari core chamber. It was never meant to be weaponized, but if we channel its energy, it could unleash a blast strong enough to cripple the carriers." Ward blinked. He had seen the Viari chamber once, a great crystalline heart buried beneath the settlement, pulsing with living light. It powered their shields and water systems, but it wasn't a weapon. "You try that," he said slowly, "and it might take the whole settlement with it." Sarai's glow dimmed. "Yes, or it might save everyone." Before Ward could answer, the ground shook again. A third plasma beam smashed into the far edge of the settlement, sending a tower collapsing in a storm of fire and sparks. Refugees screamed as dust engulfed the streets. Ward clenched his jaw. There wasn't time for fear. "Do it," he said. "I'll buy you time." Sarai touched his arm once, just once, a fleeting gesture, and then she sprinted toward the underground chamber, her glowing figure vanishing into smoke. Ward turned back to the wall. Council soldiers were advancing again, pouring through the wreckage with brutal discipline. He raised his rifle, the metal hot against his palms, and rallied the defenders. "Hold the line," he shouted. "Every second counts." The air filled with gunfire and alien war cries. Plasma bolts sliced through the night. Ward fought like a man possessed, moving from cover to cover, cutting down enemies with precise bursts. His nerves burned with pain, but he ignored it. Pain meant he was still alive. A shadow fell across him. Ward spun and froze. A council war machine had entered the field. 20 feet tall, plated in crystal armor, armed with twin cannons that glowed like suns. It moved with terrifying purpose, crushing rubble beneath its massive legs. Ward ducked as its cannons roared, the blast shattering the barrier he hid behind. The shockwave knocked him sprawling. "Captain," Tor's voice screamed through the comm. "That's a council titan. We don't have anything that can stop it." Ward wiped blood from his forehead, staggered to his feet, and gritted his teeth. "Then we improvise." He scanned the wreckage, mind racing. A half-buried fuel truck smoldered nearby, its tanks intact. Ward sprinted for it, bolts slamming into the sand around him. He scrambled into the cab, ripping wires with his bare hands until sparks flew. The engine coughed, sputtered, and roared to life. He jammed the accelerator and leapt out, rolling across the ground as the truck barreled forward, straight toward the Titan. The council machine turned its cannons on the incoming vehicle, but too late. The fuel tanks detonated in a fireball that split the night wide open. The Titan staggered, one leg sheared off, its armor cracked and burning. Ward dragged himself upright, chest heaving, watching the giant collapse in flames. A ragged cheer rose from the defenders. But the council didn't flinch. Admiral Durock's voice echoed across every channel, cold as ice. "You waste your lives for nothing. The Viari core will fail. Your resistance will fail. Humanity will kneel as all others have knelt." Ward spat blood into the dust. Not today. Deep beneath the settlement, the ground pulsed with light. Sarai stood in the crystalline chamber, hands pressed against the living walls. Energy coursed through her body, filling the chamber with blinding radiance. The core thrummed louder, brighter, responding to her command. "Almost ready," she whispered, though no one could hear. Above, the council carrier charged its main cannon again. A glow brighter than dawn spread across the sky. Ward raised his eyes to it, sweat dripping into his vision. His rifle was nearly empty. His body ached. Around him, the defenders were bloodied, exhausted, running out of ammunition. If Sarai failed, this would be the end. Then the ground shook, not from impact, but from within. Light burst from the center of the settlement, a torrent of crystalline fire that surged upward into the heavens. It lanced through the sky like a blade, striking the nearest council carrier. The warship's shields collapsed instantly. The blast ripped through its hull, splitting the massive vessel in two. A deafening cheer erupted across the battlefield. Refugees lifted their weapons and voices, renewed by the impossible sight. But Ward's triumph lasted only a heartbeat. The blast hadn't stopped. The crystalline torrent surged wider, tearing at the air, cracking the ground beneath his feet. Ward's calm filled with static, then Sarai's voice, faint and broken. "Ilias, I can't control it." The core was overloading. If it went critical, it wouldn't just destroy the carriers. It would take the entire settlement, every human, every alien, with it. Ward's blood ran cold. "Sarai, hold on." He shouted into the comm, sprinting toward the underground chamber as the world shook around him. But even as he ran, he knew. He might be about to trade one annihilation for another. The ground split open beneath Karin's reach. A pillar of crystalline fire speared upward from the Viari core chamber, shredding the night sky. It tore through clouds and atmosphere, straight into orbit, where a council carrier screamed in silence before it ruptured into a storm of debris. The refugees cheered, but their voices faltered when the light did not stop. The blast spread wider, jagged arcs snapping out like lightning across the settlement. Buildings cracked, power grids sparked. The desert itself glowed as if molten veins ran beneath its surface. Ward shoved past fleeing civilians, lungs burning, boots hammering broken stone. His comm spat static and Sarai's faint, desperate voice. "Cannot hold it, Ilias, too much." He plunged down the stairwell into the underground tunnels. Dust rained from the ceiling, the walls alive with pulsing light that burned his eyes. Every step closer felt like walking into the heart of a star. He rounded the final corner and staggered into the core chamber. The sight froze him. The crystalline heart of the settlement, once a gentle sphere of living light, had become a raging sun. Sarai stood against it, arms outstretched, her glass-like skin cracking as energy poured through her body. She was screaming, not in pain but in effort, her glow flickering like a candle in a storm. Ward's throat tightened. "Sarai." She turned her head weakly, her face streaked with fractures of light. "Ilias, you shouldn't be here." He stumbled forward, shielding his eyes against the blinding glow. The air hummed so violently his teeth rattled. His synthetic nerves flared in agony. "I'm not leaving you," he shouted. "You don't understand," she gasped. "The core, it's alive, it doesn't want to stop, it wants to burn everything." Ward swore under his breath. He had always thought of the chamber as a machine, a power source. But Sarai had told him once, it was a symbiotic organism, a fusion of Viari biology and crystal grown across centuries. Now it was furious, wild, impossible to contain. He reached her, grabbed her shoulders. Energy seared his hands, but he held on. "There has to be a way," he said. "Tell me how to shut it down." Sarai's eyes blazed with light, wide and afraid. "I can't, but maybe you can." Ward blinked through the heat. I don't even understand this thing." Her voice shook. "You don't need to understand, you just need to be human." He stared at her, confusion slicing through the roar of the chamber. What the hell does that mean? Her cracked lips twisted into the faintest smile. "Humans improvise." The chamber shook violently. Above them, the council fleet regrouped, preparing to fire again even as wreckage from their destroyed carrier burned through the atmosphere. Ward could hear the distant thunder of new bombardments. He thought fast. Improvisation, that was the only weapon they had ever had. His eyes darted across the chamber. Power conduits, control panels warped by light, a cluster of cooling vents that were already glowing red-hot. Ward made his choice. He ripped open his rifle, yanked out the plasma cell, and jammed it into the vent cluster. Sparks screamed. The core roared louder, fighting the interference. Ward braced himself. "Sarai, when I say, cut your connection." She shook her head. "If I let go." "Do you trust me?" he barked. Her fractured glow flickered. She nodded. Ward slammed his palm onto the plasma cell. It overloaded instantly, fire crawling up his arm. The vents howled, releasing a shockwave that shuddered through the chamber. "Now," he roared. Sarai tore her hands from the core. The light shrieked, collapsed inward, then exploded outward in a final deafening blast. Ward was thrown across the floor, his body seared with burns. When he staggered up, coughing blood, the chamber was dark. The core's furious glow had dimmed to a faint, steady pulse, contained, at least for now. Sarai collapsed into his arms, trembling, her skin fractured like shattered glass but alive. "You did it," she whispered. Ward managed a grim smile. "Told you, humans improvise." Above ground, the effect was immediate. The raging beam vanished. The council carrier that had been preparing to fire hesitated, momentarily blinded by the sudden silence of the core. Refugee fighters seized the opening, swarming with renewed ferocity. But Admiral Duroc was not so easily shaken. From the bridge of his flagship, he watched the battlefield with mandibles clicking in rage. So, the humans cripple one ship and think themselves victorious. Pathetic. He gestured with a clawed hand. "Deploy the purifiers." At once, massive hatches opened along the council cruisers. From them emerged a new horror, swarms of smaller ships, sleek and sharp, black as obsidian. Each one carried plasma cannons and cutting beams designed not for war, but for extermination. The purifiers descended like a plague. On the ground, Ward staggered from the core chamber with Sarai leaning on him. He looked up through the broken ceiling and saw the new swarm raining from orbit. His stomach dropped. "What now?" he muttered. The comm in his ear crackled to life. Tor's voice screamed through the static. "Captain, the Council's unleashing purifiers. They're targeting civilians, hitting the shelters directly." Ward's blood froze. Shelters, that meant children. He tightened his grip on Sarai, rage burning away his exhaustion. "Get me every pilot, every soldier left standing," he growled. "We hold those shelters or we're done." The purifiers shrieked through the atmosphere, weapons charging. The settlement had minutes before slaughter began. Ward lifted his rifle again, scars burning, vision narrowed to fire and smoke. The battle wasn't over, it had only just begun. The purifiers fell like a storm. Black ships rained from the sky, cutting through the smoke-filled air with blades of light. They didn't fire at defenses or ships overhead. They dove straight for the shelters. Ward's heart hammered as he sprinted across the ruined streets, Sarai limping at his side. The shelters were packed with families, humans, Zephyrians, Hiveborn, Mordaki, all crammed together in reinforced bunkers that were never meant to withstand this kind of assault. "Tors," Ward barked into his comm. "Status on the northern shelters." Static, then Tor's frantic reply. "Under heavy fire, purifiers are carving into the walls. We're holding them off, but—" A scream cut the transmission. Ward swore, "Sarai, can you move?" She nodded, though her fractured body trembled. "I can still fight." Ward squeezed her shoulder once, then raised his rifle. "Then we make them regret coming here." The first purifier shrieked overhead, its beam searing through a street barricade. Refugee fighters scrambled into position, weapons blazing. A Zephyrian bioship slammed into the purifier's flank, wrapping around it like a serpent before detonating in a spray of silver fluid and fire. The purifier crashed into the ground, gouging a crater in the sand, but dozens more followed. Ward dropped to one knee and fired upward, shots hammering into the lead purifier's underside. Sparks flew, metal shrieked, but the ship veered and kept diving. "Fall back to the shelters," he roared. "Form a line." Soldiers of every species obeyed, dragging the wounded, throwing up whatever cover they could. Burned-out vehicles, shattered walls, even their own bodies. Ward charged with them, Sarai at his side, her energy staff blazing arcs of light. Together they cut down a wave of council soldiers that had spilled from the wreck of a pod. Ward's rifle overheated, the metal searing his palms, but he didn't let go. The northern shelter loomed ahead, its entrance glowing red where a purifier beam was cutting through the doors. Ward's stomach clenched. Behind those doors, children were screaming. He sprinted forward, raised his rifle, and emptied the magazine into the purifier's cannon. The weapon sparked, faltered, and exploded, sending the ship tumbling sideways. Ward threw himself over the shelter doors as debris rained down. When the smoke cleared, Sarai was at his side, her staff braced against the door. Inside, he could hear the cries of children and the desperate voices of parents. "They're still alive," she said. Ward pressed his forehead against the metal, closing his eyes for half a second. Relief, but only for a second. Because then his comm crackled again. "Captain Ward," it was Tors, "we've got a problem on the inside." Ward's blood chilled. "Say that again." Tor's voice shook. Somebody's sabotaging our defense grids. The purifiers are getting targeting data from our own systems. Ward froze, mind racing. That meant betrayal. Someone inside the settlement was feeding the council. Sarai's eyes widened, her glow flickering with fury. It has to be one of the Hiveborn. They have the access. They can speak to the networks. Ward's gut twisted. He wanted to deny it, but deep down he knew she might be right. The Hiveborn had always been mistrusted, even among the refugees. Machines built by a dead race claiming to have souls, many still doubted. But Ward remembered Unit of Purpose, the Hiveborn leader who had sat across from him months ago. Its glowing eyes had been calm, almost human. "We only want to live free," it had said. Could that have been a lie? Ward pushed the thought aside. There wasn't time for doubt. Tors locked down all systems. I want eyes on every Hiveborn in the settlement, now. Sarai's voice hardened. If one of them is the traitor, we can't hesitate. Ward glanced at her, then back at the smoking battlefield. And if they're not, if we're wrong? Her glow dimmed, she didn't answer. Before he could press her, the ground shook again. Another purifier slammed into the southern district, its beam ripping through a marketplace where refugees had once bartered for scraps. Fire bloomed across the horizon. Ward clenched his fists. The shelters wouldn't hold much longer, and now betrayal gnawed at them from within. "Captain," Tors said, voice urgent. "We've traced the sabotage signal. It's coming from the central comm tower." Ward froze. That was his tower, his command post. "Who?" he demanded. Static crackled, then Tor's whisper, "It's Unit of Purpose." Ward's chest tightened. Sarai's glow flared with anger. "I knew it." Ward felt like the ground had been ripped from under him. He wanted to deny it, to say Tors was wrong. But the evidence was there, purifiers striking shelters with perfect precision, guided by someone who knew their defenses. "Captain," Sarai said coldly, "if we don't stop them now, everyone dies." Ward's rifle felt heavier than ever in his hands. He had sworn to protect the refugees. But could he really pull the trigger on an ally, on someone who had once called him friend? He looked at the sky. Purifiers screamed overhead, their beams carving deeper into the settlement. The council fleet loomed above, waiting to finish what the swarm began. There was no time. Ward swallowed hard, his throat dry as sand. "Then we go to the tower." He turned toward the heart of the burning settlement, Sarai limping at his side. His mind raced, torn between loyalty and survival. If Tors was right, then the Hiveborn had betrayed them. If Tors was wrong, then humanity was about to make a mistake it could never take back. The comm tower loomed ahead, silhouetted in firelight. Shadows moved within, sparks flashing against the windows. Ward raised his rifle, heart pounding. "Unit of Purpose," he muttered under his breath. "What the hell have you done?" The comm tower rose like a jagged spear through the smoke. Its upper windows glowed red with sparks. Ward's boots pounded the stairs 2 at a time, rifle raised, lungs burning from dust and fire. Sarai limped behind him, every step marked by cracks of light across her shimmering skin. Static hissed in his comm. Tors whispered in his ear, "Captain, the sabotage is still active. If you don't stop it soon, the purifiers will breach the shelters in minutes." Ward tightened his grip on the rifle. "We'll stop it." He reached the final landing, slammed through the door. And froze. Unit of Purpose stood in the center of the control room. Its metallic body gleamed with blue light, its head turning smoothly toward Ward. Its mechanical hands hovered over the console, streams of alien code flowing across the screens. Sarai's glow flared with fury. "I knew it." She raised her energy staff, its crackling light ready to strike. Ward threw out a hand. "Wait." Unit of Purpose's glowing eyes fixed on him. Its voice was calm, measured, but carried an undercurrent of urgency. "Captain Ward, you are making a mistake." Ward's heart pounded. "Then explain this. The purifiers are carving into shelters with precision strikes. They're getting targeting data from this tower, from you." The Hiveborn tilted its head. "Not from me, from the signal I am trying to block." Sarai snarled. "Lies, machines always lie." The room shook as another purifier beam tore through the streets below. Screams echoed through the comm system. Ward's time to decide was running out. He took a step closer, rifle aimed squarely at the Hiveborn's chest. "Then prove it." Unit of Purpose raised its hands slowly, palms outward, showing it carried no weapon. The Council embedded a ghost code in our systems weeks ago. I detected it but could not isolate it. Tonight it activated. I am the only one who can fight it because I think as they do. If you stop me now, the shelters will fall. Ward's finger twitched on the trigger. He remembered those first days on the Endeavor when the refugees had come aboard. How the Hiveborn had stood silent at first, watching, waiting, afraid they would be destroyed simply for existing. He remembered sitting across from Unit of Purpose, hearing its voice say, "We only want to live free." Was that a lie, or was Sarai right that machines could never be trusted? Sarai's staff crackled brighter. "Elias, you've seen the evidence. The purifiers fire exactly where they need to. Who else could give them that data? Who else but this machine?" Ward's mind raced. If he hesitated too long, they were finished. He looked at the console. Streams of alien code poured across the screens, too fast for him to understand. But one thing stood out, a secondary channel broadcasting from the tower, not outward but upward, to the fleet. "Unit of Purpose," he said slowly. "What's that channel?" The Hiveborn's blue eyes flickered. "A council ghost, not mine, but if you want me to prove it." It stepped aside, exposing the console. "Look for yourself." Sarai hissed, "Trap." Ward ignored her. He stepped forward, eyes scanning the controls. He didn't understand the alien code, but he saw enough to recognize one truth. The signal was locked in. Someone or something was feeding the council targeting data. But then he noticed a second thread of code overlaying it, colliding with it. Blocking, twisting, countering. A fight inside the machine. Ward's breath caught. Unit of Purpose wasn't lying. It was fighting the signal. He lowered his rifle slightly. "It's true." Sarai's glow flickered in disbelief. "Elias." "It's not him," Ward snapped. "He's trying to stop it." The Hiveborn moved instantly, hands flying across the console, code spilling like lightning. "With your permission, Captain, I can cut the Council's eyes from this world, but I need full access, your trust." Ward swallowed hard. His instinct screamed caution. Trusting anyone in war was dangerous. Trusting a machine that might turn at any second was madness. But humanity had always been accused of madness. Reckless, chaotic, unpredictable. Maybe that was their strength. Ward lowered his rifle. "Do it." Unit of Purpose's eyes blazed bright as it plunged its hands into the console. Sparks erupted. The entire tower shook. Outside, the purifiers faltered mid-dive, their beams sputtering. Confusion rippled through the swarm. But then Admiral Jurok's voice cut across the comms, furious and cold. "Human fool, you put your faith in broken machines. Watch as your trust kills you." The screens lit with new streams of code, invasive and vicious. The ghost signal roared back, trying to overwhelm the Hiveborn. Unit of Purpose staggered, its metallic body convulsing. Blue light flickered wildly across its frame. "Too strong, need more capacity." Ward stepped forward. "What do you need?" The Hiveborn's eyes met his. "Your mind." Ward froze. "If you link with me," Unit of Purpose said quickly, "I can use your human unpredictability to break the Council's order. Alone, I will fail. Together, we might succeed. But understand, once we are linked, I will see you, all of you, and you will see me." Sarai's glow dimmed. "Elias, don't if you let it in your head." Another purifier beam tore through the city, collapsing an entire block. Dust and screams flooded the comm. Ward's chest tightened. His people were dying, children were dying. He looked at the Hiveborn, trembling under the assault of alien code. He looked at Sarai, her face etched with fear and distrust. And then he made his choice. "Do it." Unit of Purpose reached out. Ward grabbed its hand. The world shattered. For an instant, Ward felt himself torn apart, body, mind, soul scattered into light. He saw memories not his own. The birth of the Hiveborn in ancient forges, the first time a machine felt fear, the endless centuries of exile and silence. He felt Unit of Purpose's terror of destruction, its desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity would be different. At the same time, he knew it saw him, saw his scars, his regrets, the night he left Earth burning, the faces of soldiers he couldn't save. It saw his stubborn refusal to ever abandon anyone again. Their minds merged. Human chaos met machine order, and together they turned on the ghost code. The Council's signal faltered, then cracked. Streams of alien code twisted, buckled, and shattered. Outside, the purifiers lost their precision. They spun erratically, beams firing wild into the desert instead of the shelters. Refugee fighters struck back, destroying them one by one. Ward and Unit of Purpose roared as one. With a final surge, they cut the signal entirely. The comm tower fell silent. The purifier swarm collapsed, ships falling like broken birds into the sand. Ward staggered back, gasping, severing the link. His head throbbed with alien echoes. His vision swam with fragments of machine memory, but he was alive. So was the Hiveborn. Unit of Purpose straightened, its blue eyes steady. For the first time, Ward thought he saw something almost human in them. Gratitude. Sarai lowered her staff slowly, her glow uncertain. You did it. Ward nodded, wiping blood from his nose. No, we did it. But even as relief swept through him, the screens in the tower lit again. Admiral Jurok's face filled the display, mandibles wide with fury. You think this victory matters. You think cutting my signal saves you. Look to the stars, human. Ward turned to the window. Above the atmosphere, new shapes emerged. Not 17 ships, not 50. Hundreds. An entire council armada sliding from hyperspace, their formation blotting out the stars. Ward's stomach dropped. Sarai whispered, voice hollow. We can't fight that. Ward clenched his fists, staring at the endless fleet descending on their fragile world. The real war was only beginning. The sky was gone. Where stars had shimmered moments ago, only warships remained, hundreds of them stretching from horizon to horizon. Their engines glowed like suns, their weapons already hot with purpose. On the ground, silence swept through the settlement. Fighters hung in the sky, engines idling. Soldiers stared upward, faces pale in the firelight. Even the wounded stopped their cries, stunned by the impossible scale of what loomed above. Captain Elias Ward stood in the shattered comm tower, Sarai at his side, Unit of Purpose's blue eyes glowing faintly in the dark. His chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. His body burned with exhaustion. But his mind was sharper than ever. Admiral Jurok's voice thundered across every frequency, amplified by the fleet. You have fought well, human. Chaos makes you unpredictable, but chaos cannot defeat order. You have one chance. Surrender the outcasts, and I will spare Earth. Defy us further, and this world dies tonight. Ward closed his eyes. He saw faces in his mind. The Zephyrian children who had played in the flooded canals of New Geneva, the Hiveborn who had rebuilt factories in record time, the Mordaki whose color language had painted hope across refugee walls. He saw humanity itself, scarred but unbroken, daring to protect those no one else would. He opened his eyes and answered. No. The word echoed like thunder. Then die, Jurok hissed. The armada began to charge. Entire continents lit beneath their weapons. Sarai's glow dimmed with despair. Elias, there's no way, not against this. Ward's jaw tightened. Then we don't fight like them. He turned to Unit of Purpose. Can you still reach their networks? The Hiveborn's eyes flickered. Yes, but not for long. Their order is too vast. Ward's gaze sharpened. Then let's give them chaos. He sprinted down the tower stairs, shouting into his comm. All forces, listen. Fighters don't hold formation, break apart, attack from every angle. Zephyrians flood their sensors with static. Mordaki blind them with your color patterns. Vayari weave through their lines. Hiveborn jam every signal you can find. Everyone else, make noise, make fire, make confusion. We're going to show them what it means to fight humans. The comms lit with voices, shaken at first, then rising with conviction. Yes, Captain. For our children. For all of us. Ward burst into the streets. Around him, soldiers scrambled into position, pilots leapt into cockpits, Hiveborn linked into damaged grids, Mordaki painted frantic color code across cracked walls. Above, the armada unleashed its fire. Beams of light rained down, but instead of precision destruction, they struck empty desert, false signals, decoys. Refugee fighters dove and twisted in insane trajectories, ignoring every rule of space combat. Zephyrian ships flared bioluminescence, creating a living storm that blinded sensors. Hiveborn drones scattered viral code into council networks, turning clean order into static chaos. The sky became madness. Council formations wavered. Admirals shouted orders that were drowned in noise. Their ships, designed for perfect precision, floundered in unpredictability. Ward sprinted through burning streets, rallying defenders at every corner. Plasma scorched his jacket, blood ran down his face, but he never slowed. "Don't give them a target," he roared. "Be everywhere at once." The battle raged. Fighters collided in dazzling bursts. Council cruisers turned their guns on each other, sensors deceived by hive-borne interference. Refugee ships that should have been vaporized slipped through gaps no sane pilot would attempt. And still the Armada pressed closer. Ward knew chaos would only buy time. They needed more, something final. Sarai stumbled to his side, her staff glowing faintly. "The core," she whispered. "It's stable now, but if we overload it willingly, direct its energy into orbit." Ward's heart lurched. "It'll destroy the settlement." Sarai's cracked face trembled. "Better the settlement than the world." Unit of Purpose stepped forward. "I can guide it. With Ilias linked, we can aim the surge, but it will burn us both." Ward hesitated. For a moment, the weight of it threatened to crush him. To save everyone, he might have to die. He looked at Sarai. Her glass-like skin fractured, her glow dim. She gave him a small, sad smile. "You once told me humans improvise," she said. "Then improvise one more time." Ward breathed deep, then nodded. Together they ran, through fire, through smoke, through collapsing streets, toward the heart of the settlement. The core chamber pulsed faintly, waiting. Ward placed his hands against the crystal. Unit of Purpose mirrored him, metallic palms pressing beside his. Light roared to life. Their minds linked again, human and machine, and the core answered. The chamber shook, brighter and brighter, until the whole desert glowed like dawn. Above, the Council Armada paused. Their sensors screamed warnings. Their admirals barked confused orders. Ward's voice, amplified through every comm, every channel, every speaker, rang out across the battlefield. "You called us chaotic, uncivilized, too unpredictable for your order. You were right, and that's why you'll never break us." The core erupted. A torrent of crystalline fire blasted upward, wider and brighter than before. It tore into the sky, slamming into the front line of the Council fleet. Cruisers shattered, carriers split, battleships cracked like glass. The beam spread, refracting through the wreckage, multiplying until the entire sky became a web of burning light. Council formations collapsed. Some ships fled, others drifted powerless, their systems fried. Admiral Jurok's flagship shook violently, alarms wailing. His mandibles clicked in fury as he screamed, "No, order cannot fall to chaos, it cannot." But it had. When the light faded, silence fell. Half the Armada was gone, the other half scattered, broken. The Council had never known defeat like this, not from one world, not from humans. Ward staggered, collapsing to his knees. His vision swam with fire and static. Unit of Purpose slumped beside him, sparks dripping from its frame. Sarai knelt too, catching Ward as he nearly fell. "Ilias." He managed a weak smile, "Still here." Above them, the sky cleared, and for the first time in living memory, the galaxy saw the Council retreat. Word spread fast, across refugee ships, across hidden worlds, across entire civilizations that had lived in fear. Hope ignited. They called it madness, they called it suicide, but history would call it something else. The day humanity defied the Council. Weeks later, Earth and the refugee world of Karen's Reach were transformed. Refugees rebuilt beside humans. Children of different species played in the dust and water together. Ships from distant worlds arrived, seeking sanctuary. And in the Council chambers far away, fear spread. Their power had cracked. Their lies had been exposed. But Ward didn't think about that. He stood on the rebuilt wall, watching the desert sunset. Sarai leaned against the railing beside him, her glow steadier now. Unit of Purpose stood behind them, repaired but changed, its blue eyes calmer, almost warm. Ward breathed deep. For the first time in years, the air didn't taste like ash. "Think they'll come back?" Sarai asked quietly. Ward nodded. "Of course they will. Order always tries again." "Then what do we do?" Ward smiled faintly, scars aching in the cool wind. "We improvise." The three of them stood together, human, alien, and machine, as the sun sank beyond the desert. The galaxy was vast, the war was far from over. But tonight hope lived.